Good afternoon, guys, and thank you for. Oh, hang on, we're not quite 4 o'clock. We'll start in a minute. Okay, it's 4 o'clock on the button. We're going to begin. Good afternoon, guys. I'm Simon Lister. Welcome to our webinar, which is going to concentrate on HostX admin portal. Webinar is probably going to last about 40 minutes or so, and most of it's going to constitute a live demo. The training agenda today, well, the reason you're probably here is because you've had HostX deployed to your organization and want to know a little bit more about how to administer it yourself, because there are tools. There's a tool to do that. Maybe you've had HostX for some time and you need a bit of a refresher on the admin portal, or perhaps you're considering implementing HostX into your organization and you want to sort of see the power of the tools involved. We're going to cover three main areas today, and the reason for that, you can spend there's an absolute wealth of information on the admin portal. It would take hours and hours and hours to cover that. So we're going to cover the main points of things that you would find of value to your organization in terms of administration. So first of all, we're going to cover users, managing users, so resetting passwords, putting diverts if someone's going to be absent or something like that. So managing users, that's a key one. We're going to go through that in detail. We're then going to go into managing groups, groups such as hunt groups for a service team or accounts team, what have you, managing those groups, how they move calls around and what have you, and auto attendance and call pickup groups, and a couple of other bits along those lines. We're going to look into those. And finally, we're going to look at managing disaster recovery. So one of the key things that you can do with a hosted telephone system yourself is, if you do have a DR scenario, perhaps you can't get access to the building, perhaps we've had another bout of COVID-19 and you need to divert calls and what have you. These scenarios are real. And we can put the tools in your hand to make amendments immediately at any time, 24/7, 365, to your hosted communications so that you can continue business. There's a Q&A section on Zoom that you may well be familiar with. If you submit any questions via that, I'll try and pick them up as we go along, or I'll leave them to the end. Before we get cracking, one of the things to know, a little bit of a word of warning, the admin portal is a live system. So any changes that you make on that portal are live instantaneously. So, if you make a mess of it, then you need to unmake the mess straight away. So if you're unsure about anything that you're doing, anything of the things that we're going to go through today, if you're at the planning stage, you're not too sure, just pick up the phone and give our support team a ring. We support thousands upon thousands of users on this phone system on HostX. We use it internally as well. It's the phone system that we use. So we're well versed. We're experts in our field. That's what we're here for. So any changes that you're not too sure about, just pick up the phone, speak to our support team. What we definitely do not want to do is to be, in a situation where something has been changed that perhaps shouldn't have. So we just must be very, very careful about that. Don't worry, you're not going to get electrocuted. But there was one case where someone deleted all their users off of their phone system. So it really is a case of make changes but be confident, and that, I suppose, is one of the reasons for doing this webinar today. Okay, well, without further ado, we're going to get straight into it. So the live demonstration. So the HostX portal, the administrative portal, is accessible from anything that has a web browser and internet connection. And all you need to do is navigate to the website address www.myhostx.com. You'll have been furnished with a username and password from our support team. And on first login, it'll probably ask you to reset that, and away you go. So if you click sign in, what you'll be hit with is the dashboard. And this gives you a little bit of information, basic information about sort of calls and what have you. And we're logged into our demo platform here. I'm going to be making changes on there. There's a menu system across the top. We're going to concentrate on some certain areas, users in particular, and call groups. And there are plenty of other options that are useful, and we'll touch on those as we go along. But first of all, we're going to go into users, and I'm going to go straight into list users. First of all, what is a user? Well, a user is one of your colleagues, a member of your team that has an extension, a telephone extension on your hosted phone system. So each user will have a license. You'll have purchased licenses from us via your account manager, and this particular our demo account has 5 users: Bugs, Daffy, Porky, Roadrunner, Wily Coyote, all part of the Acme Inc., of course. So we've got 5 users. I can see their DDIs here. I can see their extension numbers and their email address and what site they're on. But I'm going to concentrate on Bugs Bunny. I'm going to pop in and we're going to walk through how a user is set up. So the first page, the profile, so I can see their name, and I can actually make a change to that if I want to. So just let's say, for example, if Bugs Bunny goes and starts working for somebody else, and I recruit and make the change, I can quite easily change this user to a new name. I could I'll just put a 2 on the end of that. Hit save. That will actually instigate a reset of their handset, to be fair, but it will update the system and their handset to Bugs Bunny 2 instead. Their username, that's quite useful for things like Collaborate. If you're not sure what Collaborate is, make sure you visit our YouTube channel, but that is the soft client application, so a phone on your PC, as it were, and you need that username in order to log into that. The email address that we've got associated, you can see it's actually mine on this. What you can do in here as well is you can enable this user's extension, this user's phone, as a hot desk, which is quite useful. Important things for administration. We've got 3 reset password or passcodes here. Reset password. That one actually resets a password to get down to to log into a cut down version of the My HostX portal, the portal that you're looking at. Users can't actually make changes to the administration function, but they can do some sort of call controls like forwarding their own calls. We don't actually recommend that is issued to everyone, but we do have some people out there that do use it. Reset the passcode. This is the voicemail passcode. So if you have voicemail activated on your extensions, your users, they will have a 6-digit passcode. If they forget the passcode and need to access it, you can reset the passcode by clicking that button. And finally, on this page, in terms of administration, reset client password. So what does that do? Well, a client is a software-based version. So I mentioned Collaborate earlier. The Collaborate software, which is basically a soft phone that is on your computer, that requires the client password, and also the integration modules for integrating into CRMs and things like that. That requires the client password. So if you forget the client password, which you will, if you've got one of those, there's no way you'll remember that one. It's a hexadecimal type password, super long, super complex. Definitely not one you're going to guess. So you can, as far as administration is concerned, you can reset passwords here. Okay, I'm going to go on to DDI now. So DDI, direct dial-in. So what I can see is that Bugs Bunny has got this particular telephone number. So if someone external calls this particular number, it will ring out on Bugs Bunny's extension. If I really want to, I can change this telephone number and assign another number, should I wish. I'm just going to click save there. I've not made a change, but I'm going to click save, so that it just gives me a little bit of, yep, there we go. I can remove the number. So if this user doesn't need a direct dial in, I don't have to have one. So I can actually remove it by clicking that. Their extension number 201, if I really wanted to change their extension number, not usual, but if I did, I could do it here. And the more important thing a little bit further down is the caller ID. Now, we've got here override site policy. So you will have a site policy, and that's within the site management, which we're not going to cover today. That would generally have been set up by us, but the default telephone number of the organization. So for example, when I make a call out from my extension, just like everybody else within my organization, I present our main telephone number. So if someone misses a call from me, then the call will be returned into my main business telephone number. Quite useful. And therefore, what I can do here, I can change this. So at the moment, this user, Bugs Bunny, is actually presenting his DDI when he makes an outbound call. But I could tell it to present the site telephone number, or indeed, if I really wanted to, I could actually present my mobile number. For argument's sake, if I click save, I could actually present my mobile telephone number on outbound calls from my hosted telephone. So that was quite useful. If I want to withhold my number on all outbound calls, that's okay too. I just need to click that. All right. So CLI presentation, quite a useful one. I'm going to cover services just purely because this is really an information screen. If you require any more sort of licenses, so this user Bugs Bunny has got a premium license and voicemail license attached to it. Doesn't have receptionist or an integrator or a call queue group user or a call center agent. If you have any of those in your organization and you require more, you'll need to give us a call for that. But this user does have a voicemail license and has the standard normal features that are associated with a premium license. Okay, the important bit now that I'm going to get onto is call setup. So this is call setup for the user, the individual user, not a group. This is just purely the individual user. So the first section I'm going to go to is call handling. So what you can see at the moment is Bugs Bunny. If someone rings his extension, so that was extension 201, or rings the DDI, then if he's busy, if he's currently on another call, then no action is currently going to be taken. But what I could do is if I'm busy, well, actually, I'd like to have the calls sent to my voicemail. So I can actually click on that. And actually, if I don't answer, and I'm going to go for after 6 rings. So if I don't answer or I'm busy, I'm going to send my calls to voicemail. When I'm unreachable, if I've not got a device plugged in or I'm not available on the system, I can actually forward my calls to my mobile. That's quite a useful DR tool. If I was to click save, yeah, that was instant. So all of my calls for Bugs Bunny, and now if I'm busy, no answer, it goes to voicemail, and that change was made instantly. Just to clarify the point that I made earlier. Twinning. What twinning is basically if someone calls my extension, my telephone extension or my DDI, I can effectively have it ring out at the same time at another number or section of numbers. And you can see I've already set this up once, and I've got that so that I can actually twin. So twin on incoming calls, and it will twin and ring out on my mobile number as well as my handset if I've got a handset connected to the hosted system. So if I enable twinning, it does that, and that is actually now live. I'm going to turn it off because I don't want my mobile to ring when someone's doing some demo. Blacklist. This is quite a useful feature on here. I've actually got it turned off for this particular user in terms of permissions, but I can enable this blacklist. Let's just say, for example, one of the users, their DDI is getting hit with a load of spam, or perhaps someone's fallen out, someone's had a fallout, and your member of staff is getting called from calls from a particular person that they don't want it to. You can actually add that particular telephone number to a blacklist, and it will totally bar the number from actually reaching its destination. So quite useful in terms of helping your staff there. If I pop into settings, got a few options here. Anonymous call rejection. So if you're receiving calls from anonymous sources when they're not presenting the telephone number, not as usual now. I used to get that a lot a few years ago, but not as usual now. But you can choose here to reject any calls that are withheld. Enable music on hold. Well, yeah, generally people will have the latest version of Greensleeves or whatever, the latest jingle, and you can enable or disable that if you just want it to be dead silent. Show directory contact name is to do with the internal directory and fairly irrelevant, and so are the next two. But the one that I'm going to look at here is that you can, as an administrator, manually choose to put someone onto Do Not Disturb. And that's quite useful, especially if you've got someone that has, just left the building because they had to go out on an emergency, and you want to invoke that they're then on Do Not Disturb, and everyone can see that within the organization if they're looking at those tools. It's really quite useful that you can actually do that. Some handsets support this, not all of them, I must say, but if you want to have a distinctive ring for external calls as opposed to internal calls, for example, so maybe it's not too important to be speaking to Porky Pig if he keeps calling you, you're not that bothered. Maybe you're working away from your desk and but if an important call from an external party, perhaps your customer or whatever, then a change in the ringtone so you can identify it even though you're not actually looking at it. So there's a switch there to enable that. One thing I'll just point out, actually, on most of these pages, you'll actually see this little icon which it says "What" with a question mark, and actually, if you click that, you usually get a little bit of information in terms of what actually is covered by the page. Okay, we're not going into advanced, but what I'm going to go through now is speed dials. Like I say, we could go on for hours if we were to cover every single base within there. Within here, in speed dials, we can actually add speed dial options. So if someone presses and dials number 2, we can call it a name. So I'm going to give this a name of Simon and put my mobile in, 44999. Yeah, click save. There we go. So on Bugs Bunny, if he dials number 2 for his speed dials, he will ring my telephone number. You can actually do 2-digit dialing as well. So 01, 02, and so on. I can actually do an upload, and there's a template here that you can download a CSV file, populate it, upload it to the system, and of course, with it being 2-digit, you've got a maximum of 99 speed dials there. From your, just on your personal phone. So dead easy to do there. I'm going to skip over settings. In calls, transfers. So in call options, call transfer. So what we can actually do there is well, the key thing here is, and one thing we do see sometimes is to inhibit users from doing blind transfers of calls. So what that is that a blind transfer is when you get a call, you ask these, they want to speak to someone else within your team, hit transfer, then the extension, and send the call straight through without actually talking to the person and asking them if they want the call internally. If that's not for you guys, then I would definitely turn this off. Consultative calls. Transfer of calls. When you receive a call, you ask the user says, "Oh, I want to talk to Porky Pig." Okay, so you click transfer, dial Porky Pig, speak to Porky Pig. Hi, I've got Wile E. Coyote on the phone. Do you want to speak to him? Yes, I do. Okay, great, transfer, and the call is sent along. And perhaps you don't want to inhibit that, but you may want to inhibit the blind transfer within your organization. Other in-call options, call waiting. For some users, they require this, they want this. So I'm on a phone call just now, and then a second call is attempts to get through. I want to be notified of that call and have basically the option to try and terminate the call that I'm on at the moment and take the other one because it might be more important. Some people want that, some people don't. And that will vary within the organization, from organization to organization, from staff member to staff member. Some people find it annoying if they're on the phone, they don't want to be disturbed. If a second call comes, they want it to hit voicemail or forward on to someone else within their team or whatever. Whereas, some people do want to be notified. So, that one just varies from organization to organization, but this is where to activate it and deactivate. One note on this: if the user has got Collaborate, which is our PC-based telephone, effectively, users can actually turn this feature on and off from the software. Okay, so more settings. So I'm going to go through call forwarding here. And a typical example would be, okay, so you get a phone call from a member of staff and they say, Bugs calls in and says, I'm not going to be in today. I'm really sick, or I've got I've got a childcare issue, whatever it is. Then you can just jump in here and say, right, I want all DDI calls to Bugs Bunny to be sent to the extension 202, which is, I think, Porky Pig. And therefore, all calls will be sent there if I click save. Really, really quite handy. We mentioned hot desking earlier. If you enable hot desking within your organization and on the specific users, you can make a few amendments here. If someone logs into the phone of Bugs Bunny, depending on your organization, 12 is the default, probably right. So if someone logs into the phone that's Bugs Bunny, in 12 hours, it's actually going to log out the person that had logged in, let's say it's Porky Pig, and then revert back to Bugs Bunny. Voicemail settings. Really useful. So here we can actually, there's a couple of bits and bobs here. So by default, a voicemail will sound something like this. It will just announce the name that the user will have recorded, like Simon Lister. So it'll be Simon Lister, and then it'll say, cannot take a call at the moment. Please leave a message after the beep. Something along those lines. But what you can do via this system, you can actually upload an audio clip, a WAV file, that's got a personal message. You can do this via calling the voice portal, the voicemail messaging service, or you can do it via just uploading a file. It's just something that's quite useful. Notification settings, really quite useful. So I can actually send this. So I can, if I type my email in there, my email address, every time I get a voicemail, that'll be delivered to my voicemail. So I get a notification that I've received a voicemail, and with an attachment, there's actually got the voicemail that can play through my computer or on my mobile device or whatever. Other options, let's just say user is not going to be in for the day. Perhaps you just want to send all calls to voicemail. And also quite a useful one you can do within, and I've seen this a lot, particularly in COVID. What you can do is, if someone rings a DDI, they're trying to get to me, for example, and know what I do for them, but they've got I work in looking after customers and what have you. They can't get me because they're hitting voicemail. It's a bit urgent. They press 0, and maybe I'll send those calls again to Porky Pig, or maybe it'd be to a group of people, more than likely. So it might say, hi, sorry I can't take call a moment. Please leave a message after the tone. But if your inquiry is urgent, perhaps you have a service problem or whatever, please press 0 to be connected to my service team. If the caller then press 0, it'll ring out. The call will get answered. Yeah, decent customer experience. So you can activate that from here. Okay, Brill. I think that's about where we're going to get up to in terms of call setup. There's plenty of functionality and administration to be achieved in there. I'm not going to go through permissions today. They would generally be set up by us. But what I am going to go through is the phone. So this is basically the device that, so what Bugs Bunny has got. So Bugs Bunny has got a Telecom VVX250, and the MAC address, which will be shown, is basically similar to a serial number, I suppose, will be shown on the bottom of the device through identification. So really quite straightforward. If I wanted to, if I've lost that phone, perhaps it's left it at home and have some more devices in the office, I can actually change it to another device if I have those available. Just going back, if I wanted to, I could unassign the device. So if I unassign the device, that means that Bugs Bunny no longer has that phone at all. So we can see now that Bugs Bunny doesn't have a device at all, but I'm going to reassign, to be fair, that VVX250 with that MAC address back to Bugs Bunny. An interesting thing with codec, you will prefer G711. The reason for that is that G711 offers the highest call quality, ISDN type call quality when we're making calls over the internet and what have you. So stick with G711 unless you've got real serious bandwidth problems. The other thing that we can have a look at just now is manage soft clients. So if I pop in here, what we can see that Bugs Bunny has got a Collaborate license. So it has that soft phone that I've been talking about earlier. And I actually changed the codec of that. Again, what I would advise is always stick to G711 unless you have serious bandwidth issues. We do have a soft client, which is just for the desktop, and a soft client just for the mobile. It's just with Collaborate, you get both of them bundled in together, and it works really quite well. From here, another place that you can actually reset the passwords should you need to. So I've changed I can change the codec, I can change the device, I can unassign the device, I can manage the soft clients, fair enough. The other bit that I'm going to pop into is device customization, and we'll perhaps have a little look about this a little bit later. But what device customization is making some programming changes to how the user uses the phone. So it's actually a very basic layout, the VVX 250. It's an entry-level phone, to be fair, and it only has 4 buttons actually 4 buttons on the next to the display, 2 of which can be customized. And what I can do here, there's various options. We're going to pop back to this a bit later on, but I can page a group, for example, or I can speed dial, or perhaps I can do a group call pickup. So if I'm in a pickup group, I can assign that button to picking up a call within the group, for example. We're actually going to touch on that in a little bit. Okay, if I want to reset the device, so reset the layout, made a hash of the layout, need to start all over again. Probably a little bit, but more pertinent with the devices such as the VVX 450 and the expansion module, where you've actually got sort of combined total of 100 keys to customize, which you can do to your heart's content. Probably a bit more relevant to those particular devices. Okay, going on to barring. So individual. What we do at Midshire, we will create a sort of overlay of barring within your organization, a site call plan. And actually you can see there that on this particular site, we're allowing free phone calls, allowing calls to the UK national destinations, 0102 and 03. But we don't allow international calls, chargeable directory service calls. People do still ring the 118 numbers, believe it or not, rather than going on a web browser and searching for numbers that way. Allow premium calls, so those are to like hotlines and what have you, starting 09. Allow mobile calls to mobile. Yeah, of course, you probably want to actually allow those. And to 084 and 087 numbers, non-geographic numbers as we call them. They're slightly more expensive, not usually in call plans, for example. So you do tend to get charged for those. So you may or may not want to have those. But that's the site plan anyway. What you can do, let's just say that this is for you'll get a warning if you do this. But let's just say that this particular user, Bugs, needs to make calls back to Acme Inc. in America. So I'm going to allow international calls on Bugs's extension. Just one thing to note, this is when making a call. So just picking up the receiver and making a call. You can actually, if you receive a call, you can then transfer it out to an external if you want to. So the same rules applies here. If you wanted to give Bugs the ability, it's unusual if you would, but give Bugs the ability to transfer calls internationally, then you could do that just by making the amendment there. Okay, I'm not going to touch on call center, that's for another time, but that's really a good overview of user management. And hopefully from that, you can see that you can make some basic but quite effective changes on the fly from any web browser at your leisure. Okay, the next thing, I haven't got any questions so far, so do fire away if you feel I've missed anything or you want me to elaborate. The next thing we're going to go through is call groups. I'm going to take the easy ones first. So the first one I'm going to go through is call pickup. So I've got a couple in here already. So I've called it an original name. And if I click edit, So what I've got here is I've got Bugs Bunny and Wile E. Coyote in the same pickup group. And let's just say that those two guys work in the sales department of the organization. And therefore, if Bugs Bunny receives a call but is perhaps away from his desk or something like that, then Wile E. Coyote can basically press his call pickup key, which we're actually going to do in a minute. And therefore, that will pick up the phone call. Yeah, I think most people would be aware of what a pickup group would be. So those two are able to pick up calls. So if they press their pickup group key, they will only ever be able to pick up calls on each other's extensions. I could add, if I wanted to, Daffy Duck into this, and I can do that. So if perhaps Daffy has joined the team and now is able to pick up calls within that team, so we would keep that. In our office, for example, we have two pickup groups, one for the account management team, which spreads across marketing and internal account managers and field consultants. And we have one for our customer support service delivery, which means that, people that are perhaps first line, second line and third line can all pick up calls via a group pickup if they need to, because it's really important to us, to our organization, that people get to speak to someone. Okay, so it really is as simple as that. And you can see that in this particular pickup group, I haven't got any, but if you're paying any attention, you can actually see that these users, you cannot be in two pickup groups. You can only be in one particular pickup group. So perhaps Wile E. Coyote needs to move to the other group. I could delete him there. I have to click save always to make sure the amendment gets made. Oh, whoops, a daisies. I'll get back. Yeah, so I can now add Wile E. Coyote to this pickup group. So dead straightforward, dead easy to organize. And the same principle, I suppose, is in page groups. So we're heading over to page groups. So I've named this one Intercom rather than page group. Came up with something a bit different there. And the name of it and what have you, no problem. It's a demo page. Right, this is important. So you have certain users that can page. To be fair, I don't really want those lot. Bugs is the manager. I'm going to allow him alone. He's the boss. He's going to be able to page everyone. And a page is basically when you press the button and it opens up the speaker of everybody's device who is actually sat in this area. So if Bugs presses his button and announces something, that's going to page all users within this group. I'm going to add Roadrunner into there as well. What you can do, you generally put a button on this, but you can give it an extension number as well. So if Bugs and Bugs only dials 206 from his handset, immediately when it connects, he can go, fire alarm, get out of here, and or whatever it might be, and announce something to basically the rest of the organization, all the users that are in here. And with that in mind, I'm going to just go back to the users themselves. I'm going to go back into Bugs Bunny very quickly, go to his phone, device customization, customize his phone. Here we go. Right, so on here, I'm going to do a group call pickup. And on here, I'm going to do a page group Intercom. You remember that was what I named that particular one. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. Just let me configure. Right. Okay. That's absolutely fine. Hit save. The device will restart. It's actually giving you a warning there. So just bear in mind, if you're ever making any changes like this, try and do it out of hours because the device will restart. Generally with a Telecom VVX250 or a 450 or something like that, that sort of power cycle can take a good minute or two. So at that point, they won't be able to make or receive calls, the actual user. So just bear that in mind. But you can see how easy it is to configure the user with some new buttons and what have you. And they can be a variety of buttons, what we sort of looked at earlier. Okay, back to call groups. We've done call pickup and we've done page group. So I'm going to have a little look now at hunt groups. This is probably the place where you would do an awful lot of management, because hunt group generally is where you're going to be receiving calls. So if you've got a service team, for example, I have a service team. And there's several users within that group, and they're receiving calls from all of our customers and what have you. So I might need to add users into that. I might need to remove users into that. I might need to place diverts and what have you. So quite a usual one. So we're going to add. We're going to create a hunt group. So the site is the demo site. I'm going to call it test hunt group. The department, comms, the username, test hunt group, not really relevant for here. But what I am going to call it, this is an important one, test hunt group. So this might be, you might use this particular, the caller ID is what's going to be presented to the user that's actually answering the call. So this could be a different company, for example. Maybe you've got two companies trading out of the same place, same group of people. So maybe I wanted a phone call to be answered HostX rather than Midshire. I could actually display that on the screen here, and that would be done by that. It'll become more relevant, you'll see in a moment. But if I hit continue, I'm then going to get some options here. We've got 5 different types of routing, and I must admit I always forget which one it is because it's quite confusing. Circular sends a call in a fixed order. The call is sent to the first available user on the list. We're going to get to the list in a minute, starting with the user following the last user to receive a call. Okay, right. So user 1, number 1 in the list gets the first call. Great. User 2 gets the next call but doesn't answer it. So user 3 then gets the call and answers it. You might think then user 2 will get the next call. No, because it's a circular hunt group, user 4 will get will be the next to be presented with a call. The next one is regular hunt group. So if you've got 4 users within a group, if it's regular, 1, 2, 3, 4, every single call, every single incoming call to this hunt group will start at user 1 and make their way down, depending on if user 1 is unavailable, ring user 2. If user 2 is unavailable, ring user 3. If user and so on. I think you get the picture. So it's regular. It's the same every single time. So user 1 will get all the calls. Simultaneous, the most common type of ring group. So if you've got 4 users in a group, those 4 users will ring simultaneously on inbound calls all at the same time. Uniform. What this does is slightly different. So sending the call, the current incoming call to the user has been idle for the longest. Well, that makes sense. So once they've answered the call, they'll end up at the bottom of the queue. That's uniform. Weighted. Well, I'm actually going to leave it at weighted, to be fair, and that's basically sending a certain amount of calls to, say, one person and a certain amount of calls to another, just based on some percentages. No answer action. So this is like an overflow group. We'll all be probably familiar with what overflows are. So let's just say, for example, we've got it on a simultaneous ring group. And if nobody answers on that 4 users, I want to send it to another hunt group. I'm going to show you about one of these in a little while. I'm going to send it to another hunt group, which has maybe got, I don't know, my whole organization in, or another team or whatever, just to make sure that important call gets answered. And I'm going to do that after 10 seconds, or I'm going to say after 20 seconds or whatever. Maybe we find out that we're just not getting to calls quick enough and what have you, so we do that. If I hit continue, I'm not going to worry about this. Right, okay, this is where I add users in. So I'm going to add all 5 in. Yeah, jobs are good. I'm going to give this a number. So hunt group for your organization would be assigned to this, perhaps, and it gives it an extension number as well. It gets an extension number. You need that. Okay, I'm going to finish and show list. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go into example daytime. And this was one I made earlier. So you can see the name of it, the identification. So incoming call for business. Options. This one's a weighted one. I'm going to skip to the next user after 2 rings. And I'm going to carry on ringing until I get answered, basically. And I'm going to select the users. I've got Bugs Bunny, Wily Coyote, and Porky Pig. Notice that Porky and Wily are only getting 1/4 of the calls each. Bugs is down for 50%. Lucky Bugs. Assign a number. Well, the current number is that particular one there. If I wanted to, I could change it or remove it and what have you. And it's actually got voicemail. So if the call is not answered in a certain amount of time, or all users are busy, for example, within the group, then these actual calls, these inbound calls, will be sent to voicemail. And we can personalize that just the way that we can do individual user voicemails and things like that. And lo and behold, I want the voicemail messages that are left on this sent to my team, the support team, at that email address, so they can pick them up as soon as possible. Okay. The next bit I'm going to do, I'm going to look at schedules, and this is again quite important in terms of the call routing and what have you. So what you can see here, that I have a schedule that is activated rather than deactivate. I'm not going to deactivate that. I'm going to click edit. What I'm basically saying here is I'm going to forward calls that come into my daytime. So if I just click back, a number, sorry. So calls that come into here, I'm going to forward calls to 796. 796 will become more relevant in a moment. On these hours, and I have defined my closed hours. And if I click this button here, up pops my schedule. This is one I made earlier. So my business working hours are 8:30 till 5:30 Monday to Friday. So I have no agents to actually handle the calls outside of those hours, for example. So what I've done here is I've said that, okay, between midnight and 8:30 every weekday, and after 5:30 to midnight every weekday as well, and all weekend. I'm going to close the schedule now for a sec. Forward all my calls to 796. Okay. Let's have a look. What is 796? Well, 796 is actually another hunt group, but I've called it example nighttime. There you go, 796. Why am I forwarding it to that on these hours, I ask you? Well, there's no users included in there, so it's not going to ring out anywhere. But what it does have is a different voicemail to what I have in the daytime. So if you imagine the voicemail that was on the daytime hunt group would say, sorry, we can't take your call at the moment. We are working 8:30 till 5:30 Monday to Friday. You called within that time. We'll give you a ring back ASAP. Whereas the nighttime voicemail might sound something along the lines of, thank you for calling. Unfortunately, our offices are now closed. We're back tomorrow at 8:30. Our office hours are 8:30 till 5:30 Monday to Friday. We will give you a call as soon as we get in the morning. Something along those lines. So I'm forwarding outside of those hours to here, and lo and behold, I'm sending all calls to voicemail on this one, and I'm sending the calls, the voicemail, sorry, to support at midshiretelecom.co.uk, which is our service team group. So if I just pop back here, and be careful with schedules because they can be a little bit tricky. So I'm going to click edit. And the reason I'm going to click edit is because, well, let's just for argument's sake say we are changing our working hours. We are going to let all of our staff leave at 5 o'clock every day rather than 5:30. No, actually, no, I'm going to change that. We're actually going to we're going to extend the hours to 6 o'clock. We're not going to pay them anymore. So every weekday, I made this the other day, So at 6 o'clock to midnight every day, Monday to Friday. This is something that never, it recurs forever. I'm going to update that, close, back to my schedule. And what we can see here that is Monday to Friday between 6 o'clock and midnight, my calls will route to 796, which is of course the nighttime voicemail. Until 6 o'clock, the calls will be handled exactly how we've programmed them up to do. So ringing into Bugs, Wiley and Porky Pig. And hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. It's important to understand schedules and be able to work on schedules, because that is another thing as an administrator that you may be asked to do. Okay, finally on groups, and I'm conscious of the time, we're 45 minutes in now. I'm going to pop into auto attendance. And the reason why I already did hunt groups is because you normally use hunt groups and use this actually in conjunction with auto attendance. So auto attendance, for those that don't know, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 3 for that, and so on. So I'm going to go into the one that I made earlier. We can see it's got a telephone number associated with it. So yeah, if you were to ring that telephone number, you would hit my hunt group. I don't think there's any audio on it just at the moment though, so it won't make any sense. So I've given it a call, a name, sorry, and what have you. Right, let the important bit, the menu options. So I'm going to use this menu all the time, or actually I can use different menus depending on the opening time. For example, if I wanted to go down that route, I could perhaps have a different auto attendant for that. I'm not going to go into that. That's something you can explore yourself. But if I go into here, this is the important thing. So if someone rings a number, what happens to the call if they press 1? What happens to the call if they press 2, and so on? And as we can see, I've actually got in here that if they press 1, it will route to 794. We'll have a look what that means in a second. And 797 if they press 2. If I check that out just now, I'm going to go back to the hunt group because I know that's what it is. If I go to the hunt group, option 1 is for support, 794. See, that number is the one that's relevant. If I click into that, just so we understand, basically, oh, well, there's no one assigned. It'll ring nobody simultaneously, but let me chuck Bugs and Roadrunner into there. So they're my support people, for example. So if someone rings the number, presses 1, it goes to Hunt Group 794. That's this support group. It rings Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner. They answer the call. Happy days. If we go back into my auto attendant again, yeah. So if they press 2, they get to 797. And I can tell you that extension 797, option 2 sales. If I pop in there, options, simultaneously ring, no users again, I'm going to put Porky Pig and Daffy Duck in there for argument's sake. You can see how easy it is. And if I needed to add more people into there, I could do so. Really, really easy on the fly. So I've done menu options. There are other little bits that you can do. You can add one. If you ever got to the end of a message and realised you hadn't listened to anything that had been said, so you didn't know which button you were supposed to press, you could add another button for that if you wanted to. I can change the number. So just a thing here. If you wanted to change your auto attendant, it's useful actually building one, creating one, giving it a number that's perhaps unassigned. Giving it a quick go, making sure it behaves how you want it to, and then out of hours or whenever it's convenient to you, remove the number off the old attendant and put it onto the new one. Dead straightforward. It does have an extension number. You can call it internally, and that's quite useful actually, because you might end up having multi-layered auto attendants. So for example, I can have an auto attendant here, but if you press 1 for support, we don't do this, but you might have this. Press 1 for support. Okay, I press 1. Goes to a second auto attendant that says, right, okay, press 1 if your support inquiry relates to HostX. Press 2 if your support query relates to broadband, and so on. Dead easy. So that's quite useful. That's why it's got an extension number. Audio, pretty important. So the system default is NAF. You really want to be uploading your own custom audio file, a WAV file that has perhaps even a professional voice. We can help with that if you need it. That actually announces. So, if I was to do one for you, hello and welcome to Midshire. Thank you very much for calling. Please press 1 for this, 2 for that, and so on. You can upload that file easy to there, and you can actually make changes on the fly again from any web browser. Most smartphones out there, you can actually record these sorts of messages on your smartphone and then upload them easy enough. You can add voicemail to this as well, and so on. So that really is an example of an auto attendant and how that works. Okay, fine. So what we've gone through now is we've gone through users quite in depth there. We've gone through call groups. We've gone through the four main call groups today. So call pickup group, paging groups, hunt groups, massively important, and also obviously the auto attendant. I just want to go back now and really just give you a little bit more, just maybe even a recap, because I think we have covered it on disaster recovery. Because if there was anything I would like you to take away today, it would be to put you in the position that, to give you the tools to say, right, okay, there's a bit of a problem here. I can't answer my calls, or I need more people to answer calls, or I need to divert calls. I want to be able to give you that ability to do so. So if I go into hunt groups, so this is what I would do. So let's just, for argument's sake, give the example that my main telephone number, which would usually be answered by Bugs, Wiley, and Porky on this ring plan, none of them are going to be able to answer. Maybe there's a power cut. Maybe we can't get into the building. Maybe we're sick. Whatever it is, we can't do it. So my quickest route, forward all calls. After 0 seconds, let's just say, to get me through for the first couple of hours or to when I've got sorted, I'm going to forward all calls to my main number to that straight away. Done, instant. So you forwarded all your calls, you've got some business continuity, you're away. Or maybe that's to, I don't know, your Manchester office or whatever it might be. You can do that instantly on the fly, job done. Make a note, obviously, that to deactivate that when, of course, you don't need to. But that's possibly the most powerful tool that you have. For a user, we did touch on this earlier, but I'm going to pop into Bugs Bunny. I'm going to pop into call setup and incoming calls. And let's just say, they're not going to be in at all, or maybe they're going to be out of the office. And we can forward the calls onto another. I can either forward them onto another user. Actually, if I use this function here, I'm going to put Porky, search Porky Pig. So yeah, extension 204. So I'm going to send the calls into Porky Pig. If I copy that, paste there. So all calls are forwarded for Bugs, because not going to be able to make it into work. It's funny actually, because you can do it from here in terms of call handling, but you could, if you want to, just forward all calls. It's just a bit easier on the other one because you've got search functionality. But I actually know that Porky Pig's number is 204. In terms of its extent, that's it, job done. So in terms of business continuity, dead straightforward. And also, particularly if you've got lots of users that are using Collaborate or the software applications and what have you, I can tell you from my experience, people do forget or misplace, should I say, their client password for the Collaborate application. And all you simply need to do in here, hit reset password. You can tell it actually gives you a warning of what it's going to reset. Click yes, and that user will have an email drop into their box with a new password pretty much instantly. That email will have been sent and it will be received really, really fairly shortly. Okay, so hopefully those takeaways just at the end, I really want you to be empowered in order to manage your hosted phone system effectively. Okay, well, Wouldn't be a webinar without highlighting some of the other sort of bolt-ons that are available for HostX. I've mentioned it a couple of times today. Desktop and mobile soft phones. So instead of using your phone on your desk, which you've grown to love over the many years, you can effectively just have a phone on your computer, and quite a lot more involved with that sort of presence. So with us all working from home, you can actually see if someone's in a meeting or on another call and things like that. So really worthwhile, that one. CRM integration, we integrate with all the major sort of customer relationship management softwares and many more, if that's something that you need to do, when calls come in, to pop up the customer's record or whatever. That's something that we do easily. Call recording, that's another bolt-on, and we got a fabulous call recording tool, again, that in conjunction with the sort of remote user tools, using a desk phone, or perhaps using the desktop soft phone, or maybe even the mobile phone app, we can record all the calls in a central depository, which is compliant, if that's something that you need within your organization, actual compliancy. We can store things for up to 7 years. Really worthwhile. Call reporting has become really important during the pandemic, actually, where you have absolutely no idea what users are up to, and you can get full call reports that they're taking calls, making calls, whatever that might be. But importantly, your customers and what have you, your service users, are getting through to an agent. You're not missing lots of calls. Really important, and we've seen a big uptake in sort of call reporting requirements over the last few months. The latest and greatest handsets and headsets are available. Telecom is the one of choice, I suppose, but we also do Cisco's and Yealinks, and it really is a unified communications platform. Okay, there's no questions that have come up. So that must mean that I've covered everything off, but I'm sure I haven't. There's lots to learn in there. If you do have any more questions, don't forget to, you can give us a call on the main number here at Midshire. We use this system, so we're well versed in it, and we have done all of the training, of course. If you want more information and more training, demonstrations, videos that you can access at your leisure, don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. If you just search Midshire Telecom, there's a stack of training videos on there that you can access whenever you wish. Adris, who's actually pictured there, has done a fantastic job. Okay, well, that's it for me for today. Thank you very much once again for attending the webinar. Hope you found it useful, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.